A Northland couple who prayed for their sick baby rather than take him to a doctor have been acquitted of manslaughter. But David and Catherine Tribble could still face prison after being convicted of failing to provide the necessaries of life.
It was the day of reckoning for devout Christians David and Catherine Tribble.
Do you find the accused, Catherine Grace Tribble, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
After deliberating for nearly 12 hours, the jury found the pair were not to blame for killing their baby son Caleb, but convicted them of a lesser charge of failing to provide the necessaries of life.
Naturally, Mr. and Mrs. Tribble would have liked the jury also on the lesser count to have acquitted them.
Caleb Tribble died of blood poisoning 2 years ago. This photo was taken the day before he died. His parents prayed for him rather than taking him to the doctor. In his summing up, the judge told the jury they needed to put their own religious beliefs aside when deciding on a verdict. But throughout this trial, the question's been raised as to how much the Tribbles' religious beliefs influenced their decision not to seek medical help for Caleb. Caleb was David and Catherine Tribble's 8th child. The Tribbles say they didn't take him to a doctor because they didn't realise how sick he was, but they did seek help from the public health nurse. And during the trial, it was acknowledged they're good parents.
The children probably have suffered a huge loss, not just the loss of their little brother, but emotionally it's been really hard for them to deal with, especially over this, with that David and I having to go to court.
The Tribbles will be sentenced in a month. They face a maximum penalty of 7 years imprisonment. Pippa Wetzel, One News.
And Close Up will have more from David and Catherine Tribble in an exclusive interview at 7. Compensation could be on the cards for an Australian citizen wrongly deported to the Philippines. Filipino-born Vivian Alvarez has just arrived back in Sydney 4 years after the Australian immigration blunder. Alvarez was deported after being seriously injured in an accident and mistakenly identified as an illegal immigrant. She suffered memory loss and was only found in Manila this year. Her lawyers are now discussing a payout with the Australian government. A controversial British historian refused entry to New Zealand last year has been arrested in Austria. David Irving's being held on suspicion of denying the Holocaust, Hitler's mass slaughter of Jews. That's a crime in Austria with a possible 10-year jail sentence. The pilot of a small plane is being praised after an emergency at an American airport today. He was forced to make a wheels-up approach in Atlanta, Georgia, after the landing gear failed. The pilot shut down both engines just before a textbook belly landing. Fire crews were quickly on hand as the passengers and pilot emerged from the plane, shaken but in one piece. Still to come, why New Zealand's richest man has made a rare public appearance. They've spent a fortune searching for his helicopter. What next for the family of Michael Ursig? And the mail that stunned a mother. Her son is to be hanged. The family of missing millionaire Michael Ursig admits time is running out to find him, but they're not about to give up. It's 2 weeks since his helicopter disappeared on a flight from Auckland to Queenstown. 10 choppers have been out looking today, and searchers will soon be getting an expensive boost.
Skimming the treetops 6 metres off the ground, Peter Matheson's flown 80 hours in search of Michael Ursig.
You start second-guessing yourself. You see a broken tree and you think, is that a broken tree or is that something else? Look, and then you really wonder if you've looked hard enough or long enough. The mind games do start to come in a little bit.
The detection of signals that might be emergency locator beacons and sightings have narrowed the search down to southeast of Raglan, but still it's like looking for the proverbial needle in a haystack. Back at base, the businessman's family is preparing to fly equipment with a 90% chance of finding the Eurocopter from Sweden. The price tag over $1 million. The US Army has similar detection equipment. Now the Ursigs want the New Zealand government to allow the Americans to come here and use it. Even so, Michael's brother Ivan admits time is marching on.
You may recall a helicopter pilot that was retrieved after 13 days in the United States, still living, I think time is running out. It's now getting on there, but we will continue regardless.
With the bill for the private search topping hundreds of thousands, if not millions, the only thing the Erceg family can't buy is time. Alia Kram, One News.
Prime Minister Helen Clark has just arrived in the South Korean city of Busan ahead of 2 days of talks aimed at reviving flagging free trade talks. But angry protests are expected to dog the leaders of the 21 APEC countries. Asia correspondent Charlotte Glennie is there.
Angry South Korean protesters clash with riot police. The world's most powerful leader is in town, and anti-globalization demonstrators have a firm message for him.
Because he's an axis of evil on this globe.
US President George Bush is part of the Pacific Rim bloc, where the goal is to promote free trade. 21 of the region's leaders are here, including China's President Hu Jintao, Russia's Vladimir Putin, and Japan's Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi. No one's taking any chances with security. Some 30,000 police are said to be on duty. Busan is also crawling with intelligence agents and troops in a security operation that includes a no-fly zone and a 3-layer naval blockade. Earlier this week in the capital, Seoul, thousands of angry protesters clashed with police clad in full combat gear. One rice farmer is said to have died after poisoning himself in protest at the opening up of rice markets. Up to 100,000 demonstrators will be staging more protests today and tomorrow. Inside, leaders will discuss the threat of bird flu, North Korea, and terrorism.
Reviving stalled world trade talks is also a priority. From vastly different political backgrounds, APEC leaders disagree about a lot of things.